2021, 3 professional female athletes are believed to have been killed by their partners.
And cases of killings continued to rise, with police in Kahawa West in Kasarani sub-county investigating yet another case of femicide.
The country has reported 97 cases of femicide.
President William Ruto has pledged 100 million shillings for the Safe Homes, Safe Spaces campaign to combat rising femicide cases during the 16 days of activism against GBV starting November 25th, 2024.
This campaign will have the full support of my administration, and we are committing Kenya shillings 100 million for the Safe Homes, Safe Spaces campaign and for the next 16 days of activism.
The violence started not very much deep into the relationship, and it started like a joke. You see, like something that just happens, like he snaps at me, he mouths me or shouts at me. So it started with verbal abuse. Then, you know, you just brush it off like, maybe he's just not in a good mood. Then slowly it metamorphosized into physical abuse. And then now the physical abuse started, and it used to come out from very unlikely situations, like somebody has said hi to me, for example. A man has said hi to me. My partner would get really agitated and really like start picking on me from that, and it escalates to the extent that he's hit me. So I'm trying to tell him this is a friend or this is my cousin, but before I know it, he's hitting me. Basically, fights used to come from nothing, like from things that you don't even expect that will bring fights. And then slowly, without knowing it, I was segregated, you know, from people. Because if I talk to this one, it agitates him. If I do this, it agitates him. So that's how it started. So I used to get hit. He used to hit me for almost everything and anything at very unlikely situations. It went on and on. Like I said, it was a period of over 10 years. That's a long time. Eventually we got kids, and when we got our firstborn, I was really hopeful that it would change. But again, I thought then it wouldn't change, because even when I was pregnant, he was hitting me. I remember one particular incident when I think I was like 3 or 4 months pregnant with our firstborn daughter. He came home drunk and he really roughed me up, and I was so shocked, like, you can still hit me when I'm pregnant. I fought back and locked him out of the house, and you know, things like that. These are times now I was really contemplative and calling 911 and things like that. So eventually we got kids and the violence continued. Actually, after getting the kids now, the violence got like out of hand. And unfortunately, he had also sunk so deep into alcoholism. So he became a very irrational person to deal with. And the violence used to be worse, actually, when he's high. Like, if he gets drunk, he will pick on me. And so now it really got to a stage I felt like, no, now this one it's going to kill me, because it reached a point now, it went out to even my family. People now started knowing. Our fights actually now started getting out to the world, to the extent of I reported to the police, not once, not twice. I remember one time actually going to Meru police station. We were living in Meru by then, but we had moved. We lived in Limuru, lived in different Nairobi at some point, but Meru is home. So we lived in Meru for the bigger part of this relationship. I remember one time actually going to the police station at 3 a.m. after a beating, and it's like they had already noted me. They had marked me, and they were like, Bibi Amuindi, umerudi. Yeah, he's Amuindi, if you'd like to say. So it really got to an extent, hadi polisi wananijua, like nimeendea P3 mpaka. Yeah, so, and then also to mention, these fights now they started getting fair and square. So this guy also taught me a lot of violence, both verbal, physical, because now I had to survive. I don't know, I don't know why at that point I was not thinking I should leave, rather than I should just stay there and fight. So it got to a point when the fights got so bad, and I even remember telling him, at the end of the day, these fights will either land me or you in jail, or me and you in a coffin. So when it really got to those levels. It just got to a point I was like, no, this has to stop. And the only way it can stop is by me walking away from it. I remember one day he put me on a floor, a concrete floor. So my head is like on the floor like this. I'm trying to bring myself up and he's kicking me with his boots. So you can imagine your head, floor, boot, until I don't know how I've even survived not getting concussions and things like that. I also remember an incident that he almost ran me over with his car. Like, that was crazy. It was so like, he actually almost rammed me with his car, so I really had to jump and almost gotten my limbs broken in a culvert. And I'll never forget an incident that he hit me so badly with my baby on my back, my son, who is now 15 years. That time he was like barely 6 months old. Like, he was on my back and this guy comes, starts strangling me and hitting me and squeezing me on a wall with the baby in my back until this baby started like really, and I was like, bas, huyu atakufa. So like, those are incidents I would not forget. I would really not forget such incidents. Yeah, so like I said, my story started when I was very young and it escalated over the years. The hitting, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, and I took it. First of all, every day I wake up wanting to forgive myself, and I've already forgiven myself for accepting that. Why on earth did I accept that kind of treatment from a man, and for a very long period of time? So my situation got, like, reality slapped me when I got kids. You see, now with kids come financial responsibilities, physical, emotional. And that's when I started realizing, this relationship, it's draining me. And then this guy got kabisa irresponsible after we got the kids. So I had long periods of being with these kids alone. He's busy running around, and the 2-3 days he's back at home, all he brings is fights and misery. I remember running to friends' houses at night, seeking alternative shelter, because he's come really threatening, and I can see it. Okay, it reached a point I could tell that I will get hit today. Yeah, to some extent, it might sound crazy, but I think when you undergo so much abuse, also your mind shifts. So it got to a point I started getting defensive to the extent I used to sleep with knives. Can you believe all the knives in my kitchen? I used to sleep under my mattress. Na nikilala najiambia leo akikuja anijaribu, I am going to stab him 72 times. He's not going to lay his hands on me, you know. So when it got to those crazy levels, I was like, no, I have to leave. And then I got suicidal. This is back in 2008. I remember the year very well. My daughter was small. She was barely 2 years. I was expectant with my son. So the day I actually thought of ending my life and the life of my daughter and my unborn son, but it didn't. I almost like, karibu nijichome basically. I even went and bought petrol. I got into his car. He was asleep. And got into the car with my children, and I had a matchbox and I poured petrol all over the car. And one match stick would have ended my life and my children. I had even written a death note for my mom. But then something really kept me. So there was that fight of, don't do this, Alicia, don't do this. Do it, don't do this. I'd gotten to a very low level of hopelessness, a level of feeling so lost, so like I don't even know where I'm going. So I almost did that, and that day when I didn't do it, now I really sat back and had to find a way out. And after so many years of trying to live with it, it almost killed me. I reached a point of breaking away. Breaking away was not easy because it almost went away with my sanity. I was thoroughly depressed when I left this marriage. People who were close to me know how I was, and I had to break away, yes, and I had to find a starting point. And that is when I ventured into what I do now. because I had lost a lot of time in their relationship. I really didn't get to further my studies or do constructive things with myself. So I had to think of a way to survive. Of course, I left with my children. My children are the other reason that made me leave, because I also realized I cannot bring up children in such an environment. It's going to really mess them up, because this violence had already started getting into them. My daughter was very scared of the dad by the time we left. She loves the dad, yes, but she had gotten to a level of being scared. I remember one day he came with his drink, and he's having his drink in the sitting room. She was barely 6. And she told him, Papa, don't drink this, because once you start drinking this, you'll start abusing mom and you'll start hitting mom. You know, those are things that really stick with me until today, because that's a 5-year-old girl telling the dad that. I mean, this is a pattern. She's already studied it. And then, of course, he'll turn back. He's like, yeah, you're turning these kids against me. I'm like, wow. Then my son also started getting very insolent. He was barely 3, and he really started getting insolent with me, with the house helps, with the sister. You know, then I saw, no, if I carry on here, even these kids will get messed up, because it will be a cycle. Then I'll bring up messed up individuals. So anyway, I broke away. My kids stayed with my mom for some time as I got back my footing, and that's how I got into my acting career. To the ladies in toxic relationship, the first thing I will tell you, and I'll tell you in capital letters, jipende. Love yourself so much that you can actually not take nonsense from another human being. I am not being judgmental, because I was once there, and me, I didn't have trauma per se, but I think also people need to heal from their traumas. If you have maybe daddy issues, growing up issues, maybe, and then that makes you really withstand a lot of abuse, because you're feeling inadequate. Maybe you feel you're not good enough, you feel like you can't stand on your own 2 feet. No, sis, you can stand on your own 2 feet. Like I told you, all you need is that will and your brain. You have God, you have some support system. So kitu ya kwanza naweza kuambia, if you're a lady and you're in a toxic and abusive relationship, jipende. Because the minute you start loving yourself and prioritizing yourself, you do not need someone else to like love you or place you on some particular pedestal ndio usikie unakubalika ama unapendwa. Number 2, ladies, let us stop forcing issues. You see, that is where the problem also comes. A man maybe is showing you over and over verbally and with his actions that amekudharau, amechoka na wewe, ama akutaki, to the extent of a man even brings another woman to your house, they beat you together, sijui anakuchapa na mama with the mother-in-law, and you're still hanging in there. To me, that is just being stupid, because really, what are you waiting for? So value yourself, kuwa na decency, jipende, jiondoe. So the first step in healing and the first step in growing is live. You just go. We toka kwanza, ukiwa uko nje, at least your life is not in danger. You will find a way. There is support systems, there is churches, there is so many ways you can help yourself. But first of all, get yourself out of that relationship. Because for as long as you're in that relationship, you will keep making excuses for this abusive man. Oh, niko hapa juu ya watoto, niko hapa juu sina kazi, niko hapa juu familia yetu ndio walisema niolewe na huyu mtu. Oh, niko hapa juu ya kanisa, unajua is a church elder, I am here because the church will just get out fast. Jipende. You come ahead of everyone. You come ahead of the church, you come ahead of the family, you come ahead of everything. Your life is precious. Jipende. Get out. Yeah, it's funny that people don't really document this, but I also believe through gender-based violence, there is rape in marriage. Why am I saying rape in marriage? Sex has to be consensual between 2 adults. Like, we have to agree. So this man comes, hits me, abuses me, body shames me, and he still wants to go to bed with me. So I refuse. So when I refuse, he forces himself on me. To me, that is rape. When I look back to what used to happen, that was rape, because I am not agreeing to it. Maybe I'm pregnant, I am feeling a bit out of sorts, and I'm feeling like I have some back pains or whatever, so I'm not consenting to that sex, but he will still force himself on me. That is also a form of gender-based violence. There is rape in marriage. And many people are not addressing that, but it happens. Ladies, if your man is sleeping with you against your consent, amekuchapa, amekuhanya, amekufanyia mambo mbaya na bado analala na wewe. Maybe you're on your periods, you do not want to have anything to do with sex, and he forces himself on you. Maybe even he forces anal sex on you. That is gender-based violence, and that is rape in marriage. So that is one thing that really people don't address, that really needs to be addressed, and that is where we are saying enough is enough. You can be in a relationship na unakuwa raped. And then also what happens emotionally, when a person continuously abuses you, the feelings of love are replaced by feelings of resentment and hatred and anger. So half the time when you see this man, you're not turned on by this man, you're seeing a beast, and you don't want him to even touch you. And then when he comes and forces himself on you, you're not even ready. You're not ready. So that is rape. So basically there is rape in marriage, and another form of gender-based violence is rape in marriage. It has happened to me, and I know it is happening to other women in the same situation of GBV, but maybe for the fear of society and judgment, maybe they would not want to address it, but it is well that it should be known that women actually get raped in marriage. Ukienda kwa polisi, they will laugh it off and tell you, wewe ni mtu wako, so you're supposed to consent, you're supposed to, they're not listening to you, they're not listening to how it ended up being rape. I am being forced to have sex when I don't want to. Why don't I want to? This man has beaten me. This man has abused me. This man has called me names. This man has even body shaped me. Hakuna venye utakuja uniambie unaringa hapo na hiyo matiti yako imefika kwa magoti. I was once told that. So the same matiti zenye zimefika kwa magoti after nimekuzalia watoto na nimekunyonyeshea watoto, they are the same matiti you want to come and grab and have sex with me. Doesn't work like that. Wacha matiti zangu zikae kwa grao, but don't touch me. You go look for boobs that are standing, don't touch me. So the minute I don't want that sex, I don't want it. And if you have sex with me, it is non-consensual, it is rape. I mentioned earlier, ilifika point mimi nilikuwa nalala na visu. So that when you try touching me, I will stab you. So and then stab you and then go to jail. Saizi ningekuwa Langata. For what?
Our girls, our women are made aware of the dangers they face, especially when they engage with strangers, when they engage with people in social media, in strange places, with strangers. It endangers their lives and it weakens their ability to be able to extricate themselves.
Empower yourself. Empower yourself financially. Grow your career. If you're in business, grow your business. Just have money of your own. Right now, there is nothing better than having money of your own, because with money of your own as a woman, you can make decisions on your own without really having to wait for this man to make decisions for you. So one thing I would really advise women is to be financially stable. Be stable in your finances, be stable in your career, such that you can fend for yourself with or without this man. So number two, the other thing I would urge women to do is don't wait. When the flags are red, my dear, they are red. Don't see pink, don't see blue. And one thing I have learned also out of my experience is once a man starts hitting you, or once a man starts disrespecting you and going abusive with you verbally, it escalates to physical, it escalates to emotional, psychological, that man never stops. Most men who abuse women are narcissists. It is in their system. So my sister, once it starts, usijidanganye. Do not be like me. I stayed over 10 years thinking that it would change. So another thing also I would urge women is to look for the red flags. And once you see the red flags, run. Do not wait for it to get to a very extensive level of death or jail term and things like that. I am Alicia, an actress, a mother, an MC, an events host, and I'm a survivor of GBV. Nimechapwa. I have been hurt physically, emotionally, psychologically, and it has taken me a lot to get to myself to the level that I am in. So it is the high time that this stops. Gender-based violence, especially against women, and femicide needs to stop. The government needs to be seen supporting women and coming out stronger than ever before. And it is at this point we are saying, without fear of contradiction, enough is enough.
Enough is enough.